Hello, my majestic viewer. Welcome to Liminalitist, and we are going to do exactly what the title suggests. But before the video starts, let's go ahead and do a little recap from last time. In the last video, I talked about these cores. You can go check it out if you haven't. Now, I'm going to be honest that I was originally going to make that video longer with a lot more aesthetics, but those were just the main ones. I left out a few that were really weird. Like, we're just not normal. Well, I mean, all these aren't normal, but you know what I mean. Like, the really unique ones. If you catch my drift, of course. So we can go ahead and talk about them in this video. I gathered a lot of them, and we can go ahead and, get to the video. Like and subscribe for a part 3. I might make that. Now, I did not know much about Cottagecore, I admit, until I looked into the wiki, so I'll go ahead and explain. Cottagecore was inspired by the 1800s or the 19th century. It's supposed to be surrounded by, the loving life of living in, olden nature and just complete harmony. It's just one of those historic trends. Guys, I just want you to read this. You know what? I'll do it for you. Despite its progressive and submersive aspects, Cottagecore has been criticized for romanticizing Eurocentric farming life in North American and Australian contexts. For inadvertently celebrating colonial aesthetics, it has also been criticized for simplifying and underestimating the labor of farmers. Due to these connotations, Cottagecore aesthetics, they've been adapted by the tribal life community and members of the far-right forums as propaganda, leading to the media criticisms despite their opposition to LGBTQ+ and anti-capitalist adherence to Cottagecore. However, Cottagecore is not exclusively based on European history and draws inspiration from the pre-industrial farm life worldwide, including the Japanese aesthetic of Morikai. Insert 1,000-yard stare here. Yeah, that goes up there with Traumacore, I'm gonna admit. Yeah, this aesthetic is basically inspired by European, primarily, but it does have, a bunch of, worldwide culture, agriculture, or nature into one. One of the more bigger influences was the Victorian era, which is very romantic. It also had massive production of industrialization. If I pronounced that correct, that was a pretty big word. I am, in my opinion, not the biggest fan of Cottagecore. It's not as good and cool as Dreamcore, of course, but it's alright. It's good enough. I don't know, there's a bunch of more, sub-aesthetics, which I might even make a part 4 for that, okay? I know I'm gonna drag the topic of cores, way more than Steak with Bella the Wolf, but yeah. I just wanted to go ahead and give y'all a head start about that and all of this. I did not know anything about how political and agriculturally controversial this is. Oh my gosh. We can go ahead and get to the next aesthetic, core aesthetic. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all, the first 2 of these are, centered around Western culture. I read it in the wiki. But I also just now found out that Royalcore is actually a group of different sub-aesthetics. That's quite a bit, to be honest. I might talk about them in the aforementioned part 4, though, so don't worry about that. I am just going to call it a regular aesthetic. So anyways, this aesthetic primarily centers around castles on, a specific, role, the prince, princess cores that I just showed you. It's just castles, mainly. There's many different types of Royalcore, primarily in, the more European places. And, Royalcore can be represented in a lot of different ways of royalty. Whether that be, rooms or castles, objects and furniture, or just royal figures. It can be represented in all those ways, and from there a lot more. I'm gonna say this now, I kind of like this aesthetic, to be honest, though I did not grow up in the most of royalty. Hold up, I'm looking at my room, never mind. I do kind of live in paradise right now. Just a little room flex right there. I did not see that much, I saw 2 paragraphs on the wiki of information about Royalcore. Well, as far as I know, and not the little, addresses or castle locations they gave us. Oh, never mind, they actually gave me more than 2. They gave me 3. That's still not a lot, though. I'm surprised I could make this longer than 2 minutes, like a 2 minute section, because there is barely anything about this other than like there's many different types of aesthetics in Royal Castle. Those are the two things I can pinpoint about this. It's pretty sick aesthetic nonetheless, and I'll talk about, all their core, like subgenre aesthetics in a different video. We can talk about that a little bit later. I don't know why, but the first thing whenever I saw this aesthetic, I thought of that one Moist Critical video.
Medical waste. These aren't used medical supplies.
Who wants this?
But you do have these medical gloves and pill wrappers.
Looks great.
By the way,
that looks real good.
These Japanese stuff.
Who wants this? Who wants this? Is this just like a hotel room for pharmacists?
Yeah, I kind of see the correlation, to be honest. Now, this kind of works like, Traumacore, like it helps as a coping mechanism, according to the wiki. Well, without praising the mental illness and all those, terrible topics that I can't talk about, the Daddy by Corn, if you know what I mean, from the last video. It consists of syringes, hospital outfits, beds, and the Red Cross symbol. This aesthetic is so different from the weird ones that we've talked about so far. All the other ones that we have talked about, the other two, are like just primarily just like European cultures and like all that royalty stuff. This is just like so different. This is just health. I also came across this Medicalcore liminal space, and this is probably one of the best liminal spaces I've seen in quite a while. This is some sick stuff. One of the movies related to it, 12-Hour Shift, fun fact, my dad actually played in the movie. Alright, pause it right there and zoom in. My dad is the actor playing the person standing beside the, medical bed. Yeah, just something pretty cool. Honestly, like older Brothercore from the last video, I've been waiting in anticipation to do this one. That's why it's so early right here. This is a pretty cool aesthetic, I'm not gonna lie, but let's see what the next one is. I forgot what it was, so we can go ahead and move on. Oh, it's this goofy aesthetic. Oh my gosh. I actually criticized this one in my last video. This primarily centers around, dads with their Hawaiian shirts whenever a summer vacation rolls around. Even Ace Ventura can play the role of a vacation dad. It's centered around the 70s vibe that, like the little funky stuff and all of that happened in the 60s and 70s. Here's a bunch of Vacationdadcore stereotypes that the wiki has given us, which is amazing and funny at the same time. I'm gonna admit, I'm going through my edgy phase right now, and so far I do not want to be in these stereotypes. Vacationdadcore is also associated with, well, classic rock and early 80s pop. Other than that, I don't know how to make this segment longer than 2 minutes like I usually do, or like a little bit under 2 minutes. Because there's basically no more to talk about. It's just bearded dad stereotypes. That's basically it. I just described the entire aesthetic. But you can go check it out. Nonetheless, it's alright. Funniest thing is, it's like hilarious how like in my last video, the part 1 that I did, I was talking about basically the same stuff. Like there was 3 that were basically the same, and I did not know that. Then, like, this part rolls around, and there's, like, so many different ones. We can go from, like, European fancy agriculture all the way to dad bods, to robots, to medical stuff. That's crazy. Alright, sorry for that long talk. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all what Robotcore is. Just think of the Matrix. It's basically just like sort of 1990s artificial intelligence, and like, you know what I'm talking about. The concept of it is about like a glimpse into the future whenever robots are, quote unquote, taking over the world. I still do not think that's going to happen for like another while. I think we still got a little bit. And it also shows a very dystopian future that could possibly be ahead of us. And it is also characterized by like very bright and neonish lights. Just think of Tokyo, Japan. That's technically what it looks like. It also consists of binary coding and all those other languages like This is what binary coding is. You can translate it if you'd like. This liminal space, well, not liminal space, but aesthetic is pretty unique because instead of showing like a dreamlike place, it's more dystopian. There's not a lot of other aesthetics that I can name that like show that have core aesthetics. I can't think of regular ones consisting of Y2K and Frutigerero, but those are both pretty much utopian, but that's besides the point. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting core aesthetic, so we can go ahead and move on to another one if you'd like. Now, hear me out. This one by far is like probably the least known that will probably be on this list. There are no pictures on the wiki of Losercore, and the first thing I think are those 90s bully insults. That being, well, nerds. Losercore, aka Angelcore, school's cool. Yeah, that's the only paragraph. I do not want to continue any further. Overlapping with the Scenecore subgenre and older brother core. So I guess this Losercore aesthetics overlapping both of those aesthetics. Isn't Scenecore just hyperpopped? I look into it. I'm gonna listen to it for the first time. Yeah, judging by this thumbnail, I'm already nervous. Oh my gosh. Oh, she sounds like the grandma from SpongeBob, the chocolate lady. Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe she doesn't, but that's besides the point. Looks maxing edits. Yeah, we can. I see why it's called Losercore. I don't want to say anything else. We can go ahead and go to the next one. Hee ha. Hee ha. So we've already talked about Naturecore, where it's like the beauty of nature. Well, Goblincore is quite the opposite. Goblincore not only focuses on goblins, it also focuses on like the terrible stuff in nature, I quote unquote, like mud, frogs, like all the, like questionable stuff, like the weird mushy stuff. Yeah, Goblincore is supposed to signify the like bad and like unpredictable parts of nature, along with the secret side of nature too. They also have their signature clothing as well, the people who, cosplay as Goblincore. Yeah, do with this information as you will. It kind of does look like the 60s psychedelic stuff, along with the colors of Earth being green and brown because they love the, outside so much, the people who are in it. But overall, you can pretty much wear anything as long as it looks adventurous and optimistic, I guess. I don't know. Practitioners often collect and hoard small shiny objects referred to as shinies. Interesting. Many also are involved in adjacent movements, I believe that's how you say it, such as Cottagecore, Crocore. What is Crocore? Crocore is primarily derived from Goblincore and Cottagecore, and it focuses on nature, environmentalism, crows, and collecting shiny objects from urban environments. Yeah, I might just say that for another video. I already read something below it, the next paragraph, and I saw something about... I'm not going to say it. We can talk about that on part 4, okay? Yeah, Goblincore is like going back to the first few ones that we talked about, or the first couple, the first two, where it's like the more nature-y stuff and like the royal stuff. I honestly thought that it was just going to be like goblin clothing and just only that, and that would be it. But I guess it's more than that, just like the muddy stuff of nature. It's pretty interesting, so we can go ahead and move on to the next one. That was me playing Through the Fire and Flames, made by, you guessed it, a band with dragon in the name. Ha ha, funny reference. I guess Dragoncore, Goblincore, and Gorecore are like all related to each other. Oh man, this is not the first time 3 and 1 has like been all familiar, like basically the same thing. The only difference that all 3 of them have is that Dragoncore, like the people collect like more worthy, like gold coins. Goblins, get like the more worse stuff, as the name suggests, and are very greedy, and they don't have a lot of good stuff. And the Crowcore, I guess, are people who collect, noteworthy stuff. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. I'm not really sure. This is every power metal fan's favorite aesthetic, let's be real. Apparently there's certain types of dragons on the wiki, so you can search that up and do with that information as you will. Okay, yeah, this is all I have to say. Usually the ones that are duplicates are basically the same. I don't really have much to talk about. Yeah, so the next one we will talk about is definitely different, judging by the names. Or I'm going to be talking about 2 in 1, the 2 segments in one. Because they're practically the same thing, but one's more opposite than the other, what I'm talking about, yin and yang. But this one is going to be more biblical, let's say. Yeah, they're angels with wings, but I decided to put a biblically accurate angel because I'm a monster. Angelcore is, centered around European. Anybody else see a trend going on where most of these are European-inspired? But they can also be non-European. Also, yeah, angels are not only European, they can also be in, Judaism and, all the many other religions. So, it's not just primarily Catholic or Christian. If I got any of this wrong, I'm sorry, because I'm personally a Christian, and I don't know anything about any other of the religions. So, yeah, sorry. But just note that there is no, religious correlations with Angelcore. So, anybody can be in it, who's in another religion. Even atheists can. At least that's what I think the wiki's trying to pinpoint. I'm not so sure. There are even a few subgenres surrounding Angelcore. Well, then we can talk about the exact opposite. Okay, I can't show any images of what the wiki provided because they're all just succubuses and you know how they act. So I'll just use black metal thumbnails or album covers. Yeah, Devilcore is primarily surrounded by the grotesque horror and all of that gruesome stuff. And they also, use ghost imagery. Not like the thing that you become when you die. I'm talking about Satan, obviously. They also use a lot of gothic stuff for their, artwork and a ton of makeup and pentagrams. That's basically all I have to describe with both of these genres. I know it's a very short, my 2 explanations. I only gave a minute each for them, if even. But, yeah.
Oh, you're a Gemini? Get out of my face.
Yeah, it's primarily centered around astronomy and the stars and stuff, all the cosmic stuff. Honestly, I thought it was going to talk about astrology, which, glad, to be honest, that it didn't. Yes, you can't forget the aliens as well. Yeah, they also have aliens and all the cosmic horror stuff, I guess, as well. I don't know. It's actually a really beautiful aesthetic once you think about it. I think this core aesthetic might be one of my favorites, to be honest. I love the looks. I love space. I've always loved it. It was the personality I chose when I was 5 years old. The only thing more majestic than this aesthetic is Michael Storin. If you don't know, you don't know. If you know, you know. Okay, this next one might be either the stupidest one or the funniest one, or in between both of them. World Cup, World Cup, World Cup. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I am not big on soccer or football, whatever y'all call it. I couldn't name 5 professional soccer players to save my life. I'll go ahead and even try. Okay, we got Cristiano Ronaldo, we got Messi, we got Mbappe. We got that one dude, Pele, I think you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. That's basically all I can name. I only got Mbappe because I'm attracted towards French people. What? I didn't say anything. We can go ahead and talk about what Blokecore is. Bloke is a British slang term for bro or dude. I guess whoever came up with it likes The Big Lebowski? But originated from the late 80s to the early 90s. It's that soccer culture. You know what I'm talking about. The uniforms, the jerseys, all that. Now listen, I do not criticize people for how they dress or dressing how you dress is completely subjective. But okay, what is this? Sorry. The British people will get mad at me. Guys, this is the sake for a joke. Please don't take anything I say seriously. And it's also more than just British culture combined into, the soccer stuff. It's many others. Apparently the term bloke in the aesthetics was started by a joke. This is actually confirmed, I think, not a hoax. Apparently a bunch of lokes and, football YouTubers used the term bloke. And I guess it started the, Blokecore. Yeah, the first two words that I rhymed, bloke and, joke, yeah, that was not intentional, but the last two were. I'm just going to say that now. I'm sorry. Well, anyways, with that, we can go ahead and move on to the next one. This is originally where I was going to end the video, but I found a lot more weird ones along the way. I actually found this while scrolling through Medicalcore. Plaguecore is pretty interesting. It primarily talks about and focuses on, the old plague doctors from whenever that flea plague broke out, if you know what I'm talking about. The aesthetic apparently revolves around curiosity. I don't know how that can associate with a plague doctor, but yeah, I guess so. Apparently people roleplay as the plague doctors with the bird masks, but they also have other titles, such as, student and all that other stuff. They also roleplay as doctors, but they avoid trying to actually act professional, if you know what I mean. That's what the wiki says. Don't judge me. I'm glad that all these aesthetics have people who really put themselves, dedicate themselves into the aesthetic. I find that really creative, and keep it going. Except for these next aesthetics, please don't roleplay as any of these. Okay, I can't show any photos of this. This is gruesome. It is G0RE core, okay? If you know, you know. There's also another one called Hannibalcore. I'm not going to say the other. Not gonna say what rhymes with Hannibal. It's messed up. Oh, I literally can't say or show any of the stuff that goes on in this aesthetic. This is far worse than Traumacore, okay? Oh my gosh, this is, you can search it up if you will, but with, great warning, too. Well, this is about end of the video. We came across some more controversial than others. Next part, I will probably talk about, the less appreciated ones, or the really not so mainstream ones, if you know what I'm talking about. So you stay tuned for that. I'm popping these babies out like a baby boomer or something. I don't know. I don't know any examples for that, but yeah, like and subscribe, fellas. See ya.